Welcome to another episode of the Influencer Authority podcast. This is episode number 13. And today I have Harrison Barron on with me. And we just got acquainted. You said yes to doing this awesome interview with me. And I'm really excited to share you and your background with our audience today.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And you do stuff with SEO, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Algorithms, content, Google. It's what gets me excited, weirdly.
Well, we'll jump down the rabbit hole of like the whole media world, and we'll talk about the algorithms and SEO and creative work that you do. I have a little timer here. We got 3 questions. We're going to go for 5 minutes each question.
Love it.
If we go a little bit over, it's okay. If we go a little bit under, it's okay.
Love it.
But I just want to keep us on a structure and just making sure that we hit all the talking points. So the first question I really like to ask people is, when you were doing what you're doing, when did you actually feel like you actually made it?
Yeah, man. So honestly, I'm probably way too hard on myself because most of the time I don't think I've ever made it, and I've hit a lot of milestones in my life, with business, with my personal life. I'm a volunteer fireman, and it's cool. I've gotten to the captain rank in my firehouse. I've now run a 6-figure agency and hopefully crossing 7 figures in the next couple of years. And I'm an Eagle Scout, and it's so funny because every single time I hit like one of these major milestones, I'm just like, hey, I just pat myself on the back. I'm like, hey, good job. What's tomorrow? What happens tomorrow? And I never really think to myself like, what is, when have I hit success? Right? Like, I found out that my podcast, the Brutally Honest Podcast, is on the top 5% in the world, and I literally, and I was actually in a podcast when the person told me, they're like, hey, do you know this? And I was like, I have no idea. And she's like, what do you think? And I was like, cool. Like, and the only reason why I say that, and I'm not trying to be like arrogant or anything, but like, I don't do anything for other people. I do it because I love doing it. And because I love doing it, it helps so many people. And that is the most magical thing to me. So I don't see myself as being successful, but other people are like, dude, you are killing it. You have no idea that you're doing so good. But for me, it's just a labor of love. It's literally like, I love being a volunteer fireman. I love the fact that I became an Eagle Scout. I love the fact that I get to help companies grow their business, right? It makes me proud and it makes me feel fulfilled that I get to do what I do. But I've never had like this, hey, you made it. Like, you're super successful. Like, it's never, or you hit that mile. Like, I graduated college and I was like, cool, okay, what, like, now I like, all right, I get to work full time on Monday. Great. But like, for other people, like, that's huge. I've just always been like, okay, I did it. Like, I worked really hard. I got through it. I did it, and had a nice night out with friends and family and celebrated a little bit. But that's it. Like, I've never really been the one that's like, and I think that it makes you compliant when you're like, hey, I made it, right? Because I think that, just like we were speaking about, like weight loss, it's you're constantly trying to get to the better version of yourself. And I think that's I don't think that there is an end goal. I think it's, as long as I can keep helping people and keep making a massive impression and helping people grow their businesses, it makes me just feel great. And that's the most fulfilling thing. That's what makes me feel successful, is as long as I get to help other people, it really means the world to me.
Well, that's your juice, man. That's the part that nobody sees, the behind the scenes, like parts of what success feels like to other people and what success feels like to us. And most of the times when people become superheroes, they don't have capes. And only in the comic books do superheroes have capes.
Sure.
And most of the times when you're doing superhero work, being a volunteer firefighter, becoming an Eagle Scout, running a successful podcast, running an agency, becoming successful with that, getting a college degree, building yourself into this person that you are today, a lot of times it's hard for us to actually step into that arena and say we've made it, because so many times we have to think about this comparison game. Like, what's the other guy that I went to school with doing? What's the other guy that's in the same scope of doing podcasting? What are they doing? What are their numbers? What are their metrics? And I think we have this real big comparison game out there when it comes to wanting to do better, but not feeling that we've actually made it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's easy. I think it's easier for people to feel successful when they compare themselves to other people in their journey of life. And for me, like one of my friends, his father came. I saw his father a couple months ago, and he's like, "Hey, man," he's like, I quit my job and I started my own. It was an architectural business, and he's like, I'm like, wow. And then I was like, you're 55 years old and you're just starting your business. And I'm not hating on that, but like it's it was a very humbling moment because I had already been in business for like a year and a half, 2 years now, and hadn't had a physical paycheck from somebody. And it was like I was like, oh my god, like this is the most incredible thing ever. And that was probably the biggest eye-opening thing where everybody's on their own journey. And who am I to just to be like, oh, you're not successful, you're successful. A rising tide lifts all ships. And if there's anything that I can do to help people, hence why I have my YouTube channel, I'm making a crazy amount of content right now, and my podcast to help other people. It's like as long as I can help other people, it doesn't matter. Like you can't compare yourself to Jeff Bezos, right? You can't compare yourself to Elon Musk. You can't compare yourself to these, Bill Gates or whomever you idolize. There's no sense in that because everybody's on their own journey and everybody set out to do their own different thing, and that's what they enjoy doing and makes them successful. I don't think that there's any other way to measure it.
Well, there's only room for 1%ers to be 1%ers, and the rest are the 99%ers.
Sure.
And that's why we're all underdogs. And there's only one person that wins the World Series. There's only one team that wins the championship. Yep. So the rest of them, and in the Kentucky Derby, the winner loses by this much. And I think that when we think about the comparison game, just as long as you're in the arena, you can become a name for yourself in a niche market. And I think that that's what's so important for people is to finding one thing and doing that one thing really well. And like I was telling you offline, I met John Lee Dumas, and on his talk, he was like, I think every entrepreneur needs to niche down so bad that it hurts, and don't go a mile wide and an inch deep, go an inch wide and a mile deep. And then you can really start finding like the gems and the resources within that market that will actually inspire you to keep going. And I think a lot of times when people think about becoming an entrepreneur, they get into like a niche and then they're like, well, I want to do this too. And they don't fully develop themselves into the thing that would have actually gotten them to it. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that, like that, the meme where the guy has the pickaxe and like, if he just swung one more time, he would have got to the diamonds.
Yep. But I tell everybody all the time. It's just like a podcast, right? I mean, it's like so many people. I've helped hundreds of people start podcasts. I've helped hundreds of people start thousands of people at this point start businesses. And so many of them quit just before they are so close. Like I could see it being the outside source, but they don't see it. And the internal battle is almost, I shouldn't even say almost, is more difficult than the external battle, right? Am I doing this the right thing? Am I going to provide for my family, right? Am I making the money I want to make? Am I investing in the right amount of money? Am I setting myself up for the best chance of success, right? But like every single day, like the entrepreneur roller coaster, and it doesn't, it could be any roller coaster. It's like this, but it progressively goes up. You just have to ride it through that journey, and that's what I think will define everyone's success in their own life.
Yeah, I think that that's topic 2 for us. You teed it up for me. Is when you were little, let's say we go back to 5-year-old Harrison. When you were in kindergarten, what was it that you wanted to be when you grew up, and are you doing that now?
So I could definitely say I wanted to be a fireman. I always idolized firemen for what they do, and currently I'm technically a fireman, but I moved away from Long Island where I'm a fireman. So once I buy a house down here, I will, and this housing market comes down a little bit, I will be volunteering down here. But it's something that like it's something I always wanted to do. It has a relatively low barrier to entry. You just have to be willing to put in 10% more effort than pretty much anybody else. It's really not that difficult. And you have to be, I don't know if brave is the right term, but you have to be a risk taker. There's definitely a lot of risk there. I've seen guys go down. I've seen guys volunteer firemen, right? And I've seen guys get scared. And it's good to be afraid, but it's also, you have to be willing to step up to the plate to do it. And and really kind of go into it. And I always wanted to do it. It's been probably the most enjoyable thing I've done, especially because I don't get paid for it. And I never did it for the fame. I never did it for the glory. I never did it for the pats on the back. I usually don't even tell most people that I'm a volunteer fireman because it's not something that I like to not that I don't like to mention it. It's just I don't want somebody to be like, "Oh my God, you're so brave." It's like, no. I'm not doing it for you guys. I'm doing it for me. This is what I consider fun. Like this is my activity, and because I enjoy it, I get to help thousands of people, right? And I've always wanted to do it, and it's been the most fulfilling thing. And I've gotten a ton of certifications. I've been able to lead some of the most incredible people. I've gotten to in the volunteer fire community. It's this homogenous blend of an older crowd, right? You have people that were in the Vietnam War and a younger crowd of fresh blood, which I was 10 years ago, and this beautiful mixture of learning from your elders and the crazy stories that these guys share, that you're like, oh my God, like this would never happen otherwise. And everybody's there for one thing, to make sure that we do everything possible to make sure that everybody in our town is safe at all times. And that is the coolest thing in the world, is just this harmony of play and go do really cool stuff and train and learn about things that will never be written in history books, or it's just other personal experiences from other people.
I really want to acknowledge you for that. You know, the attaboys only go so far, but it's who is inside of you that matters. And I really think that that's something that most people don't really get a chance to share enough, is you do it for the love of it.
Yeah,
And,
that's it. You gotta love it.
yeah, and you showing up and doing it the way that you want to contribute gives you purpose. And I think a lot of times people, especially with the whole past 18 months, they're searching for purpose. And the things that they did have purpose in before, they're not finding the same anchor, and they're drifting now, and they're out there in the middle of like the big deep water, and they don't know what to do because they lost track of what mattered to them.
I
And
agree.
the things that they were doing previous, they were just out there to earn a paycheck and to pay some bills. And now we're finding people having to come back to their soul genius, what makes them powerful, what makes them potent, what makes them motivated. And a lot of people get a chance, like you say, you get to retool yourself a little bit. And it's not about what you say to people, it's about what you live for. And I think that that's something that's really important that you shared.
I so thoroughly agree. I think that there's not enough time in this world to go do something you don't love. I think it's something I've been preaching for years, and I will continue to preach. Go find what you like to do, and then go do more of it. And it doesn't have to be hobbies; it could be work. Like I don't consider what I do work. I just consider it like some of it stinks, of course. Like I hate payroll, I hate billing. That stuff is not fun, but like the other 99% is a blast. I love what we do, and I love what I do.
So one of my mentors once told me that, hey, the things that you don't do well and don't like doing, write that down and have somebody do that with you.
Exactly.
And I had a friend of mine reach out to me 2 days ago, and she goes, I had a job interview, and I think they want to hire me. I go, well, are I think they want me to work for them. And I'm like, well, do you want to do you want to work with them, not for them? And I think that that's a huge thing of reality. Is like people think that they won because they got the job and somebody wants to hire them. But at the end of the day, do you want to work with that group? And that's
Yeah,
the big question.
absolutely.
One of my
Absolutely.
mentors also told me, don't give yourself a job that you don't want.
Look, there's always going to be things in life that you're going to have to do that you don't want to do, right? Like after the fire, nobody wants to pack up hose, but that's the part, like you have to do that, right? Like you don't nobody wants to stretch before they go play sports, but you have to do that or you're going to get hurt, right? Like nobody wants to eat healthy. Everybody wants to eat sweets and dessert, but like you have to eat some healthy meals in order to maintain, right? Like it's just everything in life. There's always going to be stuff that you don't want to do, but that's okay. That's what keeps you human.
Well, I appreciate you sharing so openly about who you are, what you're doing. But last question, we got 5 more minutes on our segment today. We're going to run a little bit longer. I said it's okay if you run a little bit longer. It's okay if you run a
Cool.
little bit shorter. I like the conversation with you today. Um, So let's round up the interview today. And what are you working on? What are your current projects? And if people wanted to work with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, man. So we're working on we're really drilling down and focusing all of our attention right now on SEO. So for the people listening and you don't know what SEO is, SEO is search engine optimization. And it's really a blend of a beautiful series of things where it's a lot of helping search engines, YouTube, Google being the primary ones, but then there's Yahoo, Bing, find you online. But then there's also the sprinkles of social media posts out there that help help push your message. And then to tie it all together and bundle it, you do need a good looking website. It doesn't need to be the best looking website, but you need something presentable for people to visit. And that's what we've been working on. It's what we're getting really freakishly good at. And it's something that we absolutely love doing for not only ourselves, but for our clients. I own an agency. It's called Growth Generators, growth-generators.com. And that's really what we just rebranded as of February, so 4 months ago. And it's been the most rewarding thing. It's a slow, tedious process. Just I relate it like going to the gym. You're not going to get ripped tomorrow, but if you do it for a long period of time, the gains will be incredible. And we've been just consistently hitting home runs for our clients and ourselves. And it's the most rewarding feeling because sometimes clients are like, hey, this is taking a long time. And I'm like, this is not a fast race. This is, if you want a fast race, go run paid ads or hammer through social media or whatever other platform it is where it's a much more instant gratification. But the results that we provide to people will last. It's funny. We a client got too busy and they're still getting leads on the regular. They were like, hey, we got to hold off for a couple months. We're way too busy. We've got way too much work coming in. And I was like, okay, we'll put it on pause. No big deal for a couple months. And now it's been like 4 months now. And I see still, they're like, it's every single day they're getting more leads. And I'm like, wow, this is, they're like, I didn't understand it in the beginning, and now I really see how it works.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about the whole connection with internet and getting business from, a network. And old school marketing used to be you had to go to like a BNI chapter, or you had to go to Toastmasters,
Yep.
or you had to go to like a young professionals networking group. And now new school marketing is if you're not making a presence and doing positive like steps forward with your SEO and getting on interviews like this, or making daily Facebook posts and creating an algorithm of backlinks. If you're not doing that stuff, then I always used to tell chiropractors this: when you get out, when you get like comfortable, some kid's going to come out of school and they're going to start crushing it on Instagram. They're going to start crushing it on Facebook, and they're going to start crushing it going to those network meetings too. Sure. And they're going to take your market.
Yep. I tell everybody we're like, even currently I'm doing 120 YouTube videos in 120 days. I just hit day 100 yesterday. Nice. And I did a recap. Thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, who knows? I might do this for a whole year, but I'm really enjoying it. It's just it's the process and the crazy, like people are like, still people don't understand. They're like, I don't get why you're doing this. And I'm like, because as of right now, my most successful videos are over a year old and they consistently bring in views every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And people are like, no way. And I'm like, no, like that's the beauty of it. That's how content works. That's how all of this works. It works for you all the time.
Yeah. And I think we could do a whole nother segment just about creating evergreen content.
For sure.
And about making relevant topics for people, and maybe giving them an opportunity to learn how to create better content with better tags and all that stuff too. I do know that we're coming up on the edge of our time together. We have about 30 seconds left. Is there anything that you'd like to share with our audience that we didn't cover today?
Yeah, if anybody has questions or they want a bunch of free knowledge, what is it? It's growth-generators.com is my agency, and then my personal YouTube channel is the Millennial Entrepreneur Harrison Barron. And I literally, if you have a question about something and you want a demo, just leave a comment on one of my videos and be like, hey, I heard you on Jim's show and this is my question. Can you answer it? And I will probably make a YouTube video about it because I've 100 videos later. I'm starving for ideas.
Well, Harrison, it was a pleasure to get to know you today, and I look forward to working with you long term and learning more about you and your projects that you're working on as you start to develop your brand and your business even stronger than what it is today. I'll go check you out on YouTube, and I
Thanks,
appreciate you
man.
being
Really
my guest
appreciate it.
today. Yeah, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Okay,
Hey, sounds good, man. I'm looking forward to it.
thank you.